Let me start by thanking eIndia for organizing this conference and bringing us together on this forum where we're talking of how IT plays a crucial role in our governance. And I mean, what better than a power utility which touches perhaps more lives than any other organization of the government. In terms of scale of operation, it's got more customers than any FMCG company has. It has got a balance sheet size which I think most top 100 companies of BSC will be able to manage. It has assets which are widespread and running all over the country in the remotest of locations, and has a delivery mechanism which is supposed to touch every citizen. So the scale and enormity of what a utility does is quite immense. And therefore, what is needed as a solution for them is also quite large, I would say. In that sense, we should congratulate PFC Ministry part of having thought through a solution. I think it's an extremely well-designed program to ensure that over the next 3 years, we come to a level of IT maturity which I would say most Western countries would also be having. From my side, I have a few slides on what Siemens brings on innovative solutions and how Siemens can help on IT on this side. Siemens is known as a very innovative firm, and the only strength on which Siemens would claim to stand and last for 140 years is throughout the century of its existence, innovation all along. On this chart, you would see things like a dynamo, electricity generator, to quite recently in 2006, the most efficient gas turbine in the world. So largely, I mean, in the ICT arena, in the energy arena, Siemens has been the foremost innovator, and we continue to do this today. And because of this, we can claim in the sector to be the number one or the number two position. We were largely fossil-based, but I mean, as the world moves to renewables, we are also getting there. We notice that is the number 6 today, but we hope to climb this. And these are some of the recent innovations. 17,500 engineers work on R&D within Siemens. We have a 500 million euro investment budget for it, 7,500 active patents. And even in renewables, we boast of the largest wind power systems. But I'll move on, and I represent the IT part of Siemens. And within IT, we are in a sense unique in the manufacturer of Siemens IT. We have a dedicated IT organization which complements Siemens strength, and I represent that part. From IT, we have some solutions which we think are extremely important for the energy sector across the world going forward. And 4 of these I would touch. Decentralized energy management system, which basically works for distributed generation, getting that on a grid. So it actually has a SCADA for distributed generation. We have a suite of products for generation companies, which basically works on reducing the carbon emissions and increasing the efficiency of generation plants. Around smart metering, we are amongst the foremost players on integrating the smart metering to the conventional utility systems. And some of this we are quite proud to having looked at and applied as a solution for India. Then the last one is what looks at distribution network assets, and this one is around grid asset management. So I'll briefly talk about these. These are other solutions which we have which are non-power sector specific. There's a green data center, unified communication which we do with Microsoft, augmented reality which allows the person to go into a storeroom and see where equipment could be kept by looking at a computer which would give him the time and the corridor number. So he could actually see a picture and could overlay it with the idea of that. And promote and remote service platform, which is about remote infrastructure management. But I'll straight away dive into this. Is how the map looks like. I'll move on to describe some of these solutions in detail. But before I do that, let me explain what drivers we see for the world, and I'll take take a slide on what we see as going forward on the APDRP program, what we see. There is definitely a need for more energy, and for that you need efficient grids which are able to transmit the power profitably. There is a great pressure on environmental sustainability in the energy area, and these are forces, these are drivers which are enforced by regulatory pressure, by Obama coming in saying he wants to see a change on America's fuel mix. Energy prices are getting competitive. There is cross competition between various forms of energy and security of supply. We don't bother about it much, but the rest of the world is very conscious about an outage and a blackout on the system. The last one, I think, across the world, the whole utility sector faces it. It's not the most, I would call, brightest of places which attracts labor, and a lot of the utilities are actually at this moment with the workforce which is fairly aging, they're not really able to renew their workforce. And therefore, there is a challenge to manage the same infrastructure with fewer people. But I'll go on to what we see as challenges in the APDRP area. And the APDRP is quite focused on the urban towns. And I would say that there is an issue which we need to tackle as service providers together with the utility, including customers into this program. Customers have been, for large, left on their own, disengaged. They have given up on utilities. They have given up in trying to get their due right of paying for a service and getting that service. So most people don't even bother calling the utility for a power outage, thinking that there is a generator and then the generator comes on and sometime the power utility will bring the power back. So I would call we have disengaged customers. We have also customers who are not part of the program, and therefore there is a challenge to include these people as the solution will grow and include rural areas into the network as well. The second one I would call is employee inclusion. Mr. Sinha put this up as older people not able to imbibe technology, and I think there is a challenge for us with the utility to overcome fears, overcome their disinterest, and overcome that I've only got 2 years to live, why should I learn this? So I think we need to work on this with the utility to be able to put a support system which is strong and enable them to be able to use the technology for doing their daily process. Already covered a lot. I think everybody will speak on it. Open, scalable, future-ready technology. I think this is a must because this is a huge investment. In terms of what APDRP does is, I think has never happened before. It will make the telecom players whether we should expand this just because of the program. And this is the fact. We've been working on some bids, and we are confronting this reality that we don't have a telecom network which today services a large portion of where APDRP needs to be rolled out. The last one is the best practice inclusion, and I would say with this basis we would have a stronger basis of actually showing to the world that our power industry is also at par along with the IT industry, and our engineers should be able to work on, I would call, most challenging projects after post experience across the world. And currently I can explain to you that not a lot happens on the real core projects of utilities, things like SCADA, things like outage management, and IT could get into some of these areas through this program. I'll quickly come to how Siemens looks at this and what do we bring on the table. I told about grid asset management system. It is actually a system which integrates SCADA information, integrates what one calls ERP information, and ERP typically handles work orders and maintenance schedules. So if there is a plan of maintenance, it would handle that. And the last thing it integrates is a geographical information system. So with these three information being simultaneously available to the user is in a much more informed view of, and I'll explain this in some more detail, to I think giving this tool in the hands of some of the engineers would actually encourage them to come back to the engineering that they were doing and move away from the administrative work that they've been doing in the past. The second solution we have is an advanced metering infrastructure solution and a world-renowned product known as eIndia, which basically works on the meter side and handling, and it is one of the most renowned products today to handle up to 3 million meter reads in half an hour, which is what most smart grids require. The last one is around the loss reduction framework, which we built specifically for ERP. And through this, we believe that some of the challenges which I described in the previous slide, in empowering employees, in engaging customers, let me take a minute about how that happens. The smart metering application, the AMS and the energy IT application actually gives information back to the customer and just doesn't do a dumbbelling itself. So by doing this, it actually empowers the utility and the one to be able to see, in the customer to be able to see what is on the network side, what is happening to energy prices, and to be able to interact with the utility in a more meaningful way. And I have a slide on this to show you this. Open standards, I would say, brings focus back into the front-end core processes and removes the burden. And the last one is that future ready, because this is actually Siemens' solution for smart grids. And we can apply some of these to India. I told you about grid asset management solution. This is a single slide. We'll be very happy to share more with you on our stall. We have a stall in the thing, but I'll just use a single slide for the purpose of brevity here. ERP SCADA, and it acts as a central network or central information system for showing all of this. It is a system for where there is a convergence of commercial, technical, geographical information. It helps you to monitor performance. So items like SEDI, SEFI, how are they doing right now? And should I change my network configuration to improve these parameters? Because these parameters matter for the customer. And you could take some of these decisions looking at this information coming simultaneously from your startup, and you could decide work orders based on some of this information. You could do then maintenance looking at this. It will also help you to build your network. So if you were to say, should I augment here, what will be the valuation? Will my parameter on series change because of this? So you could run a simulation of an investment, and you could then see how good will be your network performance once you get this investment. And then you could track this through your maintenance strategy to be able to say, yes, I'm getting a benefit by doing condition monitoring based on these transformers. So if I move some of the critical transformers to condition monitoring, I'm able to improve my customer's parameter. Never before has this power of information been available at a single location. Now with APDRP bringing in the investment on SCADA, bringing in the investment on GIS, and an integrated information system, I would call this additionally is the integrated place where you could actually drive a lot out of your system. A quick slide on the benefits of this. So 360 degrees view, comprehensive information will help you optimize your service and maintenance cost, increase your investment, and increase the asset life as well as improve the flexibility to operate. The second solution that we come to, which is related to, I would call in the Indian context, related to being able to reliably communicate with the customer on his power quality, on his what is he getting on his power quality, to be able to give a differentiated tool in the hand of the utility to say, I have customers who are not regular payers, who are not, who are possibly thieving as well, and I can handle some of this with it. So the two solutions are advanced metering infrastructure, and this is typical meters gateways which connect data concentrators up to an engineering workstation. So basically, like a telecom network, you can actually look at the performance of your metering network. And you can call this a metering network operations center. where you can see how good are your meter reads happening, and are all the meters visible to your network. And you can look at power quality on some of these meters and make judgments about where should you now change your SCADA configuration or change your network configuration to be able to serve these people better. So basically what the solution does is it does automation on the network, and it can actually handle, and SCADA typically works at a transmission voltage level. It could take your visibility down to the meter level. So wherever you wanted to give differentiated service, for example, there was a high value customer or there was a hospital, you could actually put him on and you could give him two sources of supply, and you could switch those two sources of supply to ensure you never get shortfall, while the rest of the network would be open. So you could improve power quality, you could improve automation, and definitely this last one. The second solution which I talked about is engaging the customer. And engaging the customer comes with a solution which is able to do bidirectional communication with individual customers. And once you have that, you could look at something which is talked about in smart grids, in smart metering, is basically giving back to the customer more information about how is he using the power, where is he using the power, and how could he save power. And additionally, is there a tariff scheme where he could come on and reduce his power cost. So this is a solution which, and this one is a home display, which gives a lot of information to the customer and gives him the ability to be able to select some of his options with the internet. Benefits, I'll quickly skip this, but the last one, I think, which is the most important one, and we discussed the whole objective of the ePDRP program is about loss reduction. And to give you an idea of this, I don't have the recent figures, but some time ago, the utility industry, the power sector was facing losses of 22,000 crores near what there. And no investor would actually put his money where there were such huge losses. Not even investors who were upstream and selling to utilities as customers. So why we have power shortages today is the reason of that we've not invested in the upstream infrastructure, in power plants and transmission grids, because the downstream is not really viable. And I think the ePDRP program will be, if it works, I think it will help in removing this barrier from the sector. And the sector should turn around as the telecom sector really something to do and become a great place for where the best talent can come. For this, we have three parts, I would call it. Meter-to-bill solution, there is technology and automation based on the smart meter solution that I spoke about, and then there is an analytical engine which works on the MIS or the BW portion of the customer billing system. And I'll quickly describe to you what I meant by the automation of the last one. Typically what happens is that, and trust me, I've worked with a number of utilities inside and outside India, and most places where systems have fallen to this loss levels, there is a very large systemic breakdown of the utility's ability to carry out the process. For example, a key process requirement is to be able to disconnect the customers. And most utilities are facing up to 30,000, 40,000 disconnects in a month, whereas their ability to disconnect is only 300 to 400 customers in a month. And therefore there is a huge disconnect. Now, if one was to use the technology wisely, if you had vulnerable customers who could move out of your discipline of payment, getting bills paid, and so one would recommend, or they are hard to get customers onto the discipline. One would put these smart meters and put these bidirectional meters, and I won't call them smart meters for the purpose that let's not, there's a huge technology. But let's just put bidirectional meters in, and this is what a meter looks like. A customer is advised to call. Nothing happens to his power connection. On his meter, there is a signal which says advised to call retailer or call the discount. That's what we read. And there will be a call from the call center agent. That's all it needs to be, to say you're out of discipline, so please pay on this date. And if he doesn't pay, then he says, calls again, and he says, I will disconnect you in the next 10 seconds. And when he does that, and I'm sure first people will not believe him that he will disconnect, but once he does that, the customer will realize that he has the power to do it, and he will attempt to reconnect, and with the button which can reconnect, but it says not available, so he can't reconnect. The only way for him is to pay, and I think we should increase with this APDR program the channels of payment. So if we make it, he goes to an internet screen and pays, or whatever that screen is, in the next 2-3 minutes, he could actually be paid. He calls again, and he gets paid. And you need to do this 5 or 6 times. And I think the problems for 95% of your discipline is broken very solid. And you can take these meters out and put it now on the next segment. And I would say some investment, but if you utilize it well, use your analytics to drive this investment well, it will give you the discipline and you should have. 99% of utilities customers should follow the regime and will deal with them. 1% if you need to deal with them as really hard cases. People who are possibly dealing with them. Let me come to that one. And with much more information on customers on a minute-by-minute basis, you could figure out, and normally customers are not very smart at reading, and they leave fingerprints behind the meter, which you can analyze. Is the load taking trend, you can say this looks like a case where he's connected something in one phase, and one phase current shows up here, so you can easily make out he does it in the night time, or he does it during certain times of the day. There are patterns. One can use analytics to use it. Sure, I'm glad to answer, and this is all. I have a few slides on generation, but I'm quite happy to go through. That's all.